The death of top 40 bands. What the hell happened? Now, if you've watched any of the interviews on my channel, whether it's Rudy Sarzo from Ozzy Osbourne and Quiet Riot, or Tom McDermott from Rick James and the Stone City Band, if you've watched those interviews, you'll learn that these guys got their start playing in top 40 bands, playing the hits of the day. It's where many of us, including me, got our start learning how to play parts, learning how to play in a band, and learning how to entertain a crowd. Even Edward Van Halen and the mighty Van Halen, they were a backyard party band, but they were also, in essence, a top 40 band playing songs like Casey and the Sunshine Band and Stevie Wonder and James Gang and any number of things. James Brown, the Beatles, you name it. They were essentially a band that was hired to entertain in bars. And that is where they cut their teeth. This is where many musicians cut their teeth and learned how to play in a band, learned how to cop tones, learned how to entertain a crowd. It was really, man, it was really the perfect place to hone your skills. But what happened, man? Where are all the top 40 bands? Now, I can tell you, before I went out to Los Angeles, and once the season had ended at Busch Gardens and I didn't have a job anymore, I went down to the Boathouse, which was a venue, I think it was in Norfolk, Virginia, and they had a guitar competition. And, you got up there and you shredded for 1 minute and, that was it. And I didn't win the shredding contest. A guy that had better hair and cool sunglasses and spandex won. But I got offered a gig in a top 40 band, and I played in this band. The band was called Tricks. We had a house gig at O'Sullivan's Wharf, which was kind of a divey, water on the water kind of place in a not so great area of like near Virginia Beach. I think it was Buckrow Beach or something like that. If you're familiar with the place, leave a message in the comments. But played in this top 40 band. These guys were all veterans. They were all older, in late 30s at least. And I was an 18, 19-year-old kid having to learn all of these songs. Journey, Lights, Bryan Adams, Summer of 69, all of this stuff, and play this stuff, cop the tones, and play with this band of veterans. And it's another experience where I learned how to play in a band. But look, man, there was a time when you couldn't walk into a bar, a hotel lounge, or even a damn bowling alley without hearing a live band cranking out the latest top 40 hits. Every weekend warrior musician had a gig. What the hell happened? Now, when I was a kid, I remember going and watching one of my guitar instructors playing in a top 40 band, and I was blown away by the whole experience. I didn't think I was going to be on MTV. I didn't think I was going to go to the Sunset Strip and do all that at that time. At that time, I just wanted to be that guy playing in the bar, jamming over Eric Clapton's hit, I'm not even going to say the word, but the big controversial hit about the Beak Food. All right. So I wanted to be soloing endlessly in E minor in a bar and hearing the whoops and hollers of the crowd. But man, bars and hotels used to need live music. Entertainment was a draw, not just an afterthought, man. These bands got people out on the dance floor, and it's an inside thing that that if you get people dancing, you're going to get interaction in the crowd. People are going to get, excited. They're going to get thirsty and they're going to drink more. And that means the bar's going to make more money. So if you're a successful top 40 band, you're essentially alcohol salesman. You're essentially there to help propel alcohol sales. Things used to be different back in those days, but we'll get into that later. Now, the set list of a top 40 band, you had to nail the pop, the rock, and the dance hits. If it was on the radio, you played it. The musicianship, we didn't have any backing tracks. There was no click, just tight, well-rehearsed bands who had to bring it every night. And I remember, man, we would get together, a couple of hours before the gig, and we could go into the venue, and somebody would pull out a cassette, or we'd say, hey, everybody come together, learn this song. And they give you a cassette copy. Someone would buy the 45 or somebody would buy the album, and they would make you a cassette, and you'd go home and you try to pick out the guitar parts, figure out what sounds. And back then I had a Boss pedal board with a tuner and a chorus pedal and a couple overdrives and a delay pedal. And between all those sounds, you pretty much have to try and cop all the sounds of a record. And, it was a great learning experience. It's where a lot of us cut our teeth. If you cut your teeth playing in top 40 bands, I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. But you know what? There was a slow decline. The first cracks in the foundation were DJ culture's rise. Clubs realized they could pay one person instead of a full band. And then you had karaoke and jukeboxes. Now, drunk people singing, unfortunately, became a bigger draw than paying musicians. Now, you know what? I've been to karaoke bars. There used to be one in Hollywood. It was actually kind of like close to Beverly Hills. I can't think of the name of it now, but I used to go there with all my buddies back in the day. And you know what? Karaoke can be fun. But here's the thing. Here's why karaoke took off. Because instead of it being about that cool band on stage and there being the alphas in the crowd, that all of a sudden that drunk Larry from The Office can get up on stage and butcher Don't Stop Believin', and people are whooping and cheering for him. So it became about me, instead of we, a collective of a group, or those cool musicians on stage. All of a sudden, you are the star. And let's face it, people do want a piece of that themselves. They want to be about themselves. They are about themselves. So karaoke played a huge part. The 90s shift as rock gave away to hip hop, pop punk, and electronic music. Fewer bands could replicate what was on the radio. I mean, what a rap song or a hip hop song or an electronic song, it's all about the sounds, the sound of the samples that they're using, the sound of the loops that they pulled off of some old 45, and less about the mechanics of playing an instrument and the parts. You're talking about the songwriting got so simplified, that a hip hop song might have, a loop that loops through the entire song. And that's all it is. And man, frankly, a band is going to get bored playing that. And there would be a few in the days of top 40. There'd be a few, rap songs that you would play. But man, generally you wouldn't play a whole night of that stuff. And you know what? It was much easier to have a DJ to play those songs. Now the death blow that could have, taken this whole thing out: technology, economics, and changing tastes. Backing tracks and one-man bands. Here I am in Florida, and the majority of gigs that people tell me are here are singles and duos. And why is that? Because once again, why pay 5 musicians when you can have a solo act with a laptop? Look, it's not the same experience. It's not as cool as going into a bar and hearing a band that's just firing on all cylinders. But the economics of it, you know what? The musician doesn't have to pay the 3 other guys or 4 other guys to back him. And he just hits the button on his laptop, and he doesn't have to worry about the drummer being too hammered on the 4th set. He doesn't have to worry about the bass player's girlfriend who's causing a row out in the crowd, flirting with everybody in the house. He doesn't have to worry about the guitar player getting too baked on the break. You know what? I get it. I get why these things happen, but that doesn't mean that it's better than a live band that is just up there, just killing it. You know, bar economics are a huge part of this. Venues stop seeing bands as a necessity. Cheaper entertainment options took over. You know, there is a decline also of radio's influence. When was the last time radio dictated what people listened to? Streaming changed the game. Top 40 used to mean something. Now it's a damn playlist, and half of it's made by AI. Now, the real question is this: are top 40 bands gone for good? The tribute band shift. I mean, let's face it, man. Down here in Florida, tribute bands are a huge thing. Instead of playing current hits, bands started leaning into nostalgia. 80s nights, Journey tribute acts, Van Halen tribute acts, AC/DC tribute acts. Leonard Skinner. I'm sure down here in Florida, there's a Leonard Skinner tribute act. If you know of one, let me know in the comments. And there are some really good tribute acts, but man, you know what? That's a specialized thing. That's a specialized talent. But imagine in the days of top 40 bands, you had to play the solo on Beat It with its Eddie Van Halen, isms. And then in the next song, you had to cop Nile Rodgers on a Chic song. And then on the next song, you had to cop Andy Summers from the Police. And on the next song, you had to cop Neil Schon from Journey. Man, it's a specified skill set if you've got to cop Eddie Van Halen and learn everything that he did and play all his parts as good as you can. But playing in a top 40 band might even be more difficult because you do have to be able to do a little bit of everything. And man, that is an incredible skill set. You know what? Live bands didn't disappear. The wedding and corporate circuit. Now, this is something that I can really talk about because this is what I did in Nashville. The majority of gigs I was doing towards the end were weddings and corporate. And, live bands didn't disappear. They get hired to where the money still was. The money in a wedding band, on my, last of my runs doing that in Nashville, the money had gone up to where I was making more doing that than I was getting paid for a single night on the road. A single night gig in Nashville for a wedding band was paying more than I was getting paid to play a stadium. And that's just simple facts. Not complaining. In fact, I thought it was awesome because I would play, I would make good money, and I would be back in my bed, usually by 1:00 in the morning. I'd be sleeping in my own bed. And that's a lot easier than going on the road playing with an act. Now, some resurgence. Is there a resurgence of top 40? Well, TikTok covers, YouTube musicians. Some bands are finding ways to make it work, but it's different. I see guys playing in bands on TikTok and YouTube and different things like that. So there is, some resurgence. It seems to be all based in retro music. Now, maybe it's cyclical. Maybe people will get tired of DJs and laptops and want the real thing again. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think people want real music? Do you think people want to hear a real band? Every now and then I get some whining guy in the comments who goes, bands are too loud and I can't talk when I... Look, man, you got Nashville getting flooded with tourists. Tourists coming in. Why are they coming in? They're there to hear live bands. People do want to hear live music. So if there's a city out there that can figure this out and can pick up on this trend, you know what? If you're a small town, encourage bands to play. Encourage local bands. You know what? If you're a bar, try having a live band instead of that karaoke, man. You know what? You might find that people really enjoy it, even if it's just one night a week. Maybe people will get tired of the DJs and want the real thing. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. But until then, pour one out for the lost art of the top 40 band. Now, let me know in the comments, did you ever play in or see a killer top 40 band back in the day? Drop me a comment and tell me about it. And now, one final toast to the musicians who kept the party alive for decades. We salute you. Rock on.